Okay, how many, this is like take 4 or so, how many of us have had experiences with somebody or some group or different individuals or whatever that they become what seems or might be enraged because they were told they could not do something, they were not allowed to do something, or they were just told some form of no, and they think that they have some kind of right or that they can do whatever they want, nobody can tell them no. No, these are adults, and you do have a right to tell them no. Like if somebody comes onto your property and you say you're not allowed on my property, and they think they can go wherever they want to. There's something like that. Okay, now I don't know the legalities of all this, but let's just say that it's true. Okay. Wherever you live, it could be different. But I mean, something like this too. Say somebody calls you and you say, look, I'm on the road, don't call me again, and whatever happens, somebody right after that calls you and you're still on the road driving, or you say, look, they call me and say, I was told that you wanted us to call you. You say, no, what I said was, do not call. And they just keep talking. And you say, I said, do not call, I'm hanging up. And you hang up. They call back. You know, or whatever it is, they just keep calling you. And somebody else from, say it's an office, a doctor's office, you know. Yeah. And they just keep calling. Like as if you have no right to tell them not to call you on your phone. That you don't have any rights. Okay, seriously. And I have made enough videos about how I've experienced things like with doctor's offices. Yeah. Okay, let me go deeper in this. Now, any kind of situation like that, and then say that, like this one, you say don't call, and the group continues to call you as a group, like several members of that, whatever it is, because they believe they can do what they want, and you have no right to tell them no, like I keep saying. Now, what is pushing them to do that? What is going on in their brains that it becomes this group thing, this group? Are they enraged, all of them? Are they rallying behind one another? Are they adult mean girls and adult mean boys? And or what, if any? It's a fun game to them? Okay, so each time, each one calls, they say, I was told that you said for me to call you, or for us to call you. So that's what they start off saying, immediately, right off the bat. That's what they say. So you know they're all saying the same thing. Okay, so I know what I think. I mean, if it's just one individual who does this, or if it's a group, I think it can be different that's doing it. But that is, to me, is quite frightening. Seriously. I mean, I would view at some point harassment. I mean, once maybe, they make a mistake. You had said, hey, I said don't call me. I told them not to call me. And then they just keep doing it, keep talking. But once it reaches that point, they just keep talking. And you say, told them not to call me because I'm driving. It's really bad traffic. It's really bad. I don't need this. Or, like, could be working off your phone, like, doing these food delivery things, and you don't need to be talking to somebody, all this, and they just like they did not even hear you. And that's the part of this, whatever it is, seriously, whatever is causing them to not care what you're saying at all, or not even express anything of, oh, I'm sorry, or what did you say? No, they seem to not even hearing you. It's kind of like if you were called by a recorder. That recorder is not a automated system or something. It's just a recording, and of course that doesn't hear you. But these are people who are human, not a recording, and they act as though they don't hear you. Each and every one of them. Now think about what is going on. Can we even think what is going on in their minds that they don't even hear that. Well, it could be a total lack of empathy. It's all about them. Some would say, some might say that's rather narcissistic. It's all about them, what they want, what they need. I mean, like I said, it could be just they're playing a prank, a joke. That's what they get their kicks out of. They work in an office and they enjoy doing. When somebody tells them no, you can't call, they want to show their superiority. Yeah, isn't that narcissism too? Show their superiority and that they're entitled. Yeah, what is that? And it just goes on, and that they are staff at a doctor's office, or whatever clinic, whatever it is, they're staff. And they have elevated themselves, to so high that they think that they have every right to do that. They're not staff. They're no longer staff. I say I don't like the whole totem pole thing, but everybody is needed, pretty much. And they're basically what they would even think lowest on the totem pole. They might, but they have elevated themselves so high in their mind that they're on top. They're on top with everybody else. Narcissism? Read the definitions of narcissism. Now, I'm not diagnosing, but, yeah, anybody could say. I'm a social behavioral scientist, so, anyway, I've been for many years. But what else, what is truly motivating them? We really don't know what motivates even ourselves, as I see it. I've heard of this, people think this way, I do. And, so we don't know what's truly motivating them. We can have a pretty good idea, we can think we do, but we don't truly. Really, some people could be just not so, I gotta do this again, not so bright, or they can only think in that kind of herd mentality, that some of it's group narcissism, collective narcissism, and then it might not even be narcissistic at all. I can't see that, but so say they won't stop, and what would you do? Who would you call? Would you call anybody? If you can't handle what's going on, you can't handle it as far as maybe both meanings of that word. So would you call? Are they the gatekeepers? Would you call somebody like their corporate office and say, look, this is what's happening, and they're not stopping. In the corporate office, you have a long discussion with the complaint department or whatever, whomever you call, and they say, I will guarantee you should not have been through that, and I will guarantee you that it will not happen again. Not long after that statement, somebody calls. And continue, not them, but calling the appropriate places, since apparently that was not true. And you reach you call them back, somebody had called you after that, and you tell them that corporate office is somebody else, of course, that answers the phone, and you tell them, and they try to blame you. They say, well, are you sure they weren't calling to apologize? What part of do not call me can they not understand, or any of them understand? What part of it they can't understand, seriously? So what is truly motivating this? Even their corporate offices, it's going to decide, well, a lot of people I'm not naive. I'm not naive at all. But what I really want to think about in this is the total, that behavior. Now, I've done videos about herd mentality, about collective narcissism. I'm a sociologist. My master's is in sociology. I'm a social and behavioral scientist, like I said. Taught at college and university. I kind of know what I'm talking about. And, of course, people can say, well, I don't agree with you, or similar. I don't know anybody similar. I was a career student over 20 years, so I haven't met a true peer. I don't know of any, really. But to combine it together, is it an individual thing, that perhaps a sociologist, a psychologist should look at, or whatever it is, wherever, this was happening, whatever is appropriate, state, government, whatever. deems as legitimate. But to look at this and say, this behavior is inappropriate, on and on, okay? Whatever they would call that kind of behavior. Yeah. Okay, I don't know. I'm was a little distracted. Where was I going with this? I strike the last little bit. But seriously, what can a person do? What about the victim of this? Seriously, when is it ever really an attention played toward the victim? And isn't this continuing, this kind of behavior, in my view as a sociologist, it's worsening to a degree. I have seen this kind of stuff in my own world. I'm not sure how it is in the whole world, but in mine, I am seeing it increasing so bad and so fast and so deep that truly people believe that what they want to do, they can do it and nobody can tell them no. I mean, I don't think they'd go before a judge and say, I can do what I want to and you can't tell me no. But actually, yeah, in a way, I think some would. If they want to pull out the Constitution, which they might not know anything about, they just heard Bubba and Babette tell them that, this is the way it is, and they call it common sense. Whatever happened to logical sense? Common sense, really. It's just what that person believes, that person who's using the term common sense, and saying that most people or better actually, is everybody knows this is common sense. No, that could be just you. It could be maybe some of you read on the internet, or just your family, or just your friends, your circle. You might not even know that they think that way, but you're going to say they do. On and on. What is it? Seriously. That was noisy, wasn't it? But all around, these behaviors, they just worsen. I mean, do you not have any right to yourself? And especially like work in a doctor's office, and you tell them not to call, and they're calling and giving information, not to call to whomever. What about HIPAA? I don't know if that would fall under HIPAA. And can they claim that they can call these other people? And they just, where it draws the line where laws actually matter? Shouldn't the laws matter? That when you ask someone or you tell someone, you record telling someone. But then again, I'm not a lawyer, so but I have read some things that I'm like, so they find this loophole, and so they know they can do this, and it's just like I said. What about the victim and who's being blamed in some way, shape, form, or fashion? Turning around back on the victim, Well, that's not what I was told. I was told to call you. This kind of thing. No, you weren't. I mean, like I said, one, maybe. But when it continues and that same one calls you again, and then they hand it off to somebody else, and they call you, and then they hand it off to somebody else. Yeah. And you've said repeatedly to all of them in the same office, do not call. Okay? I said, do not call. You tell the corporate office is going to let them know that they are not to call, and they continue to call. Stating that you, I heard that you called them. Seriously. I think you can see what I'm saying, but I'm pretty sure. But, what happened to our rights? The ones that say no. What happened to them? And this just could be me. I don't think so. But it could. Just be that I am very unfortunate. I don't believe in jinxes and jinx lives and stuff like that. I believe in coincidences, but really, I keep saying this. I'm starting to wonder. But, like I've mentioned this before I forget, that about medical cherry picking, this could be a tactic. I've seen it before myself. I have a rare health condition, and I have seen medical cherry picking, medical lemon dropping, this kind of thing, And it can happen very soon, or it can be after they make some money off of it. This is my view. And you can look at medical cherry picking, medical lemon dropping online and see what it says for yourself. But I've seen this kind of thing. I've seen it for many years because I've had this since I was a child, if not from birth, really, or shortly thereafter. My rare health condition. And it does seem like nobody wants to take, that. And my thing was I wanted to see a endocrinologist. I needed a referral to a good endocrinologist. That's what I need to be seen by, is an endocrinologist. But with my new insurance, I have to go through, to be, what is the term for it? To be referred to one, which is exactly what I want, because then they are responsible for who they referred me to. Without health insurance, I went through that. It was a disaster. So, it really was. They just totally was. I don't want to go deep into those stories again. There's my neighbor. Yeah, that's the one that's kind of nosy. So, why did I start whispering practically? I don't know. But anyway, what does a person do? I mean, the person who's the victim, to continue. Now, here's where I'm getting really worried, that this is becoming such a, I've mentioned, some things, other things that are worrying me. They're becoming such a social norm, at least around where I am, it does seem that way, that who could a person call to, have this stopped? And I think, unfortunately, sometimes it goes to this. Well, you'll have to call a lawyer. I mean, seriously. Don't we live in a society? I remember hearing this when I was a child. They always tell you that you have to call a lawyer. And they know you're not going to call a lawyer because it would be expensive. And they have all their lawyers. And that they'll just keep you in with this lawyer till you run out of money, and they'll break you. I have heard that since I was a child. I'm 60 years old. That's a long time to be hearing that. But hasn't it become such a deterrent for somebody to try to take up for themselves and say no? How about somebody hearing a story about you doing that and saying, what line would that be? To blame you, that it's not associated with them, and saying that you are being combative by saying no, that you don't want somebody to call you. That's sick. That's sickening. But think along that line, that they're going to blame you and they aren't associated with it. What if you have some other kind of situation, whatever kind of situation it is, and you call the police, and the police says, well, you're being combative. No, I don't think any police officer, okay, there may be some, that would say you are being combative when you're telling somebody not to do something to you. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm sure I'm not sure. There could be. Okay, somewhere out there that some police officer would say you're being combative because you told them no. But what if they did? What if they did say something like that? Think of someone who should not be saying something like that. I've experienced, thought it wasn't a police officer. I've never had trouble with police officers. Actually, one of them did many years ago. It wasn't trouble with them either. It was that this woman I knew, she was moving from another state with her baby, and she stayed with me for a very short while, and then I had to leave because something was not right with the whole situation, and I left, and I called them, and they said, ma'am, you need to stay out of that house, and she can, it was an apartment. It was many years ago, and Adam was in California, I think. And I said, why? He said, because of the size difference between you two and the fact that she has a baby. I'm a gentle giant. She said, the fact that she has a baby with her, if she could just call and say that you raised your voice at her, and you would be taken to jail because of the size difference and that she has the baby. I was like, wow, man. You know, luckily she left, but there was something really not right there. Seriously not right going on. And I had known her when I was a teenager. She was a friend of my friends that needed help. Well, there's a lot more to that story, a lot more. But years too of stuff. But stuff like that. What if these people keep calling, or keep calling a person, or sending you something in the mail? Now that's federal. That, as far as I know, like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving any kind of advice, suggestions, nothing like that. This is me just telling my story, venting. And well, I think it's about to start raining. It's supposed to rain today, but I'm watching a woman right now go home. I don't blame you. It's about to start raining. And anyway, I was a little distracted by it because it was kind of a strange thing. But then yeah, what can we do? Who can do what? I'm a sociologist. I'm 60 years old. I have health conditions. I wouldn't mind passing a torch. But who is torched by this anymore? Who's the fire been lit under them to do something, to, like a protest, listen, whatever legal, it's going to be legal. They go into that field or whatever with the whole feeling of doing this and not going into it to say, some superiority over the dominance over people, to act as though they can elevate themselves. They can go 5-6 weeks to school, to a class, and elevate themselves from the lowest level of whatever that is. And they're, like I said, I don't like the totem pole game, but there is a lowest level as far as your certification or whatever, your license, your whatever it is. They elevate themselves to the top just because they're associated with it. Who is, like all these things I've mentioned and then some, who is actually working toward this improvement? That instead of us getting more and more and more of this, then instead it's lessening. Like it's hit rock bottom. You know what I'm saying? It's just got gone too far, and society says, okay, we're not taking this anymore. We're going to do this legally. We're going to prosecute people who, if the person records them telling them, I don't know what it is. I really don't know if that's legal, whatever. But they say no, and they still do. In whatever it is, whatever kind of situation, that they have a right to say no, and the other person just doesn't care. When can things start to be regulated to where this stuff ends, or just lessens, gets smaller and smaller, where it's not a big issue for anybody? I would love to see that, in my life. I would love to see some kind of, it's not vengeance, it's not, any kind of revenge, but I would just like to see society. Adam says, don't you realize it's justice? Yeah, but how many people these days, not even these days, it's been for years, or maybe that has lessened. People saying, oh, such a social justice warrior. Like there's some kind of bad, that cracks me up. A person who's wanting the social world, because, the people who are saying that, what happens to them when they get something like that happen to them? When people say something like that, social justice warrior, oh, we don't listen to them, then something bad happens to them because there is no social justice, because, hey, they were the ones telling people not to listen to social justice warriors, calling them a name like it's a negative connotation. What happens when they have it happen? Who's going to listen to them? No, probably nobody they know. Probably nobody with that, what they call common sense. Oh my gosh. Some of the things, I think my laughter is lessening, hopefully, because this stuff is not funny in any way, shape, form, or fashion. When people get away with doing bad, negative things to someone who has said no, who has said stop, who has said I said no, and that's it. Their corporate officer, supposedly, has told them no, but then they do it anyway. And they have this, when they don't hear your words, they're just talking over you, and they're just going off, and then very inappropriate what they're saying, even, to whatever the situation is. It's very inappropriate. But they just do, because they have whatever that is. Is it enraged? Or is it all these other things and then some that they feel about themselves? I gotta tell another story eventually, but I'm gonna go home. Talk to y'all another video. Bye.